Looking for a painting tutorial for beginners? Well, by the end of this video, I'll show you exactly how to paint this vibrant and colorful strawberry. For all the best lessons on painting a vibrant color with acrylics, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing. So last year, I worked with Boston area interior design company Honey and Fitz to create a summer collection of paintings that captured all of our most favorite, iconic, and nostalgic summer treats. We did cotton candies, snow cones, ice cream, rocket pops, all the good stuff. And I thought it would be fun to recreate those paintings for you and actually break them down step by step so you can follow along. So I love painting iconic, nostalgic foods because they're tied to memories, right? You see something like a snow cone or a rocket pop, and it immediately makes you think, oh my God, I remember as a child having something like that, and there's a whole story that comes along with it. So today I want to break down my strawberry painting for you. So all you need to do is check out the materials list. It's below this video in a link, and you can download that, grab your paints, and then we'll just get started.
All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is the background. So what I wanna do today, instead of leaving it white like I usually like to do, I want to go ahead and do kind of like a watercolory background. So the strawberry is gonna be red and green, so I think what I'll do is a really light, watered down pink. So I don't recommend using too much water with your acrylics unless you're trying to do a background color. So when you're doing a background, especially if you're painting on paper, the paper will absorb a lot of the water, but once you start layering your acrylics, you don't want to thin with water too much, but for right now, it's okay. So just really quickly, just coming right up and around. Don't be afraid of visible brush strokes. A lot of times my students ask me how to make all the brush strokes go away. Sometimes brush strokes are great. They add movement, they add life, and they add a lot of energy to your painting. So we're not going to shy away from that in today's painting. Just adding a little bit more water, bringing this right up to the top. And again, sometimes I will leave the background white, but I think today I just wanted to try this out. All right, so we've got a good mix of light pinks, dark pinks, get some of the dust out of there. And as you can see too, I just outlined the strawberry with a pencil, just so I know where it's centered and that I have it on the canvas, or the paper in this case, where I want it. So now I'm gonna make sure the brush is nice and dry, and we're gonna get right into it. So the first thing I usually like to do after the background is an outline. So I'm gonna do an outline with magenta and orange. Just makes a nice reddish color. It's okay if a little bit of our background color is getting in there. We just want to go ahead and do an outline. Okay, so we've got our outline now, and the next thing we want to do is just fill in the other major blocks of color. So the next thing is we want to make sure we bring in the red right away for the strawberry. So we are going to do magenta and orange. That together makes a really nice, vibrant, and pretty transparent red. So we're going to bring that in too. Red is one of those colors that if you put really anything underneath it that's darker, you're not going to be able to get that full vibrant red color. So you want to make sure when you're painting red things, this kind of goes for yellow too, that you get that red in first. We'll add some highlights and shadows and things like that, but just want to make sure we get the red. So using a nice flat brush, remixing more of the color when we need it. Very easy, it's just two colors, and bringing it right in. And you'll see I have a lot of visible brush strokes, which I like. I don't think visible brush strokes is not inherently a bad thing. I'm going to keep reminding you of that. All right. It definitely gives it texture too, right? We don't want like a solid, boring block of red. We want it to look like it's coming to life. All right. So we are gonna have a highlight over here, and we're gonna have the light coming from this left-hand side. So in order to really make it look like that, we're gonna wanna put some shadows on the right-hand side. So we will come back and do that, but I just want to just establish that at the beginning. So you'll see I'm going to be adding more colors to my palette, or more paint to my palette as we go. That's okay. Start with just a little on your palette, add more as you need it. And make a note, all of the paints are in rainbow order on my palette, and they're all at least an inch away from each other, so that I can just pull them down this way and mix them intentionally instead of letting them get all smushed on top of each other on the palette. That's just how I like to do it. So this side, still making that red. I left a little bit more magenta than orange this time, just for a little bit of variation. And almost done filling in this first area. So while the paint is still a little bit wet, I do want to bring in some shadowing. So I'm going to take a little bit of purple and mix it in with that magenta here. And just make the right side a little bit darker. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to look like the light is hitting it from the left. So now we've got that basic strawberry color in. We want to do the same thing for the green leaves. So just cleaning this brush off pretty well. Pink and green are complementary colors, so if we blend them together, we're going to get brown. So just want to wipe that off of the brush. And we're going to go with some green. So we'll take some yellow, take a little bit of phthalo turquoise. We've got this really nice, super vibrant green. Maybe add a little bit more blue. The phthalos are really strong. A little bit goes a long way. And we'll start with this super vibrant green. We're gonna tone it down in a little bit, but we'll start with it being nice and vibrant. And it's at this point where you can decide, do you want this to be, and you can go right over the outlines too, do you want this to be more illustrative and a little bit two-dimensional? Do you want there to be some more dimension? And I like to do vibrant colors, but with some added dimension. I don't think it needs to be, it can be three-dimensional while having non-photorealistic colors, but you don't have to make it flat when you're doing vibrant colors just because. So what I'll do is I'll add just a little bit more phthalo blue, and just make sure that as I'm filling this area in, I have variations of the color. Maybe I'll add a little bit more yellow now. I don't want my paintings to just have flat blocks of color like a coloring book. So I just make sure that I'm adding in slight variations as I go. Some of these layers are going to get covered up, and that's okay. Just getting the paint that's on the back of the brush down. At this point, we're in this color blocking stage. We really just want to get the areas covered, and we'll pull in our shadows up top like we did on the bottom too. So now everything's green. And you'll notice too, I'm going kind of fast because I know I'm going to be covering up some of this and going back and forth with colors. So we don't need to be like super hyper careful right now because we're gonna get it all covered up, it doesn't have to be perfect from minute one, you know? So what we're gonna do is we are now going to add in some of our shadows up here. So part of this is gonna be darker green, and we are gonna take some phthalo turquoise, maybe a little extra phthalo blue, a little bit of yellow. So now we've got this nice darker green. And we're gonna bring in some shadows. So we'll make this part of the leaf darker. It's almost like it's curling up from the bottom. Maybe we'll make this a little bit darker. Just bringing in some darker greens. Keeping in mind that we're going to have the light coming from this left side. I am looking at a couple different photos of strawberries. You can print out or go on Pinterest and look at some photos as well. But again, it's not really about making it look exactly like a picture. Just getting that strawberry feeling. There we go. Letting the brush get a little bit dry like that, making some texture. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's never the point. I spent a lot of time trying to make everything I painted perfect, and it drove me nuts. So now I try to just play around, be a little bit looser. So now what we need to do is we really just need to bring some definition into our strawberry. So we're gonna come back to the leaves, but there are lots of different elements, right? We've got seeds, we've got highlights, we've got shadows. So what we're gonna do is we are going to mark in where our seeds are first, and then we'll do everything kind of around that. So I'm gonna take my favorite brush. It's got slightly rounded edge on it. My materials list is below this video as well. You can download that. And for the seeds, I'm gonna start a little darker than I think I wanna go, and then we'll lighten them up. So starting with a little yellow and a little bit of orange. And then I'm gonna take some purple to neutralize that color. And I'm going for like a light golden brown. So that'll be a good starting color. So now I want to look for the pattern in the strawberries. So usually if we start at the bottom, the seeds are kind of offset like every other. So I'm gonna bring the seeds in. Again, just looking for the pattern. They're a little closer together at the bottom of the strawberry than they are at the top. Okay, so we've got the general area where our seeds are gonna go, and that's gonna help us bring in some dimension as well. So one thing I will do is I love to take new colors that I introduce and make sure that they appear in different parts of the painting. So that means I'm gonna take this yellow, this darkish brownish yellow, I'm gonna bring it up here. I'm gonna mix a little bit of the green I was using into it before. And I'm gonna add a little bit of it up top with my leaves. Maybe add a little bit more yellow to it. But just bringing it in so I have different types of green up top. It's really subtle, but it's just something that I like to do to bring colors in from all over. Peeking in from the outside. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to decide where the highlight is going to be, and I'm going to put the highlight on, and then we're going to go back and forth getting the highlight and the shadows ready to go. Okay, so we're going to make it look like, again, the light's coming from over here. So I'm going to take a brush that has another rounded edge but is maybe just a little bit bigger, And to make the highlight, I'm going to make it a light pink. So I'm going to take some of this white. I'm actually going to take some of the pink that I was using at the beginning, bring it over here. And the first time you do this, it does not have to be perfect. If we need to adjust the color, we will. If we need to adjust the shape, we will. But we've got this nice highlight, and it goes right around the seeds. So we're gonna bring it like this. And each of the seeds actually still has like a red circle around it. So we're gonna make sure we do that. It's a little closer to the seed on the left side, a little farther away, or a little closer on the right side, a little farther away on the left side. And when you do this, it's gonna feel like, what am I doing? But as it comes together, it'll start to feel more like a highlight. So I'm gonna do it all the way down the side, making these circles around the seeds and then connecting them. Connecting them in the middle. Painting is not a linear process. You have to kind of mess the painting up a little bit and then find your way back while you're working on it. It's not always just keep going one next step, next step, next step. It's perfect. It's just a little bit of a roller coaster sometimes, and that's okay. I've learned to embrace that. And the more you embrace it, the more fun you'll have painting, instead of feeling like everything just has to be perfect all the time. Trust me. All right, so as we get to the edges, the highlights towards the top aren't quite as bright. So there's a little bit of blending that we'll do. Okay, so this is the side that's going to be nice and shiny. And again, just making it a little less like severe with the white and blending it just a little bit. So the edges are a little bit darker. Do you see what I'm doing? And this way we've got some pink in the highlight, we've got some orange up there. It doesn't have to just be like one color. And we'll do the same thing right down here on the bottom. Picking up some white, blending it in. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch to the other brush. It's just a little bit softer. Brushes are one of those things where you need to try out a bunch of shapes, sizes, textures. You'll start to feel with muscle memory what you like. But I definitely like these smoother brushes. So now we're going to bring the shadow on the right side of the seeds over here too. Because even though it doesn't have this big shadow, the strawberries are still three-dimensional, right? So the seeds are getting hit with light. And the closer to the highlight it is, the closer to the bigger highlight it is, the larger this highlight will be. A little bit on this side too. And then the farther away it goes, the highlight gets a little bit smaller. But always on this side of the strawberry, or the seeds. Maybe a little bit on the bottom. Whenever you're painting anything, what you're really trying to capture is how the light is interacting with whatever it is that you're painting. It's all about light and it's all about shadow. So at this point, we also, again, want to make sure that our shadows are good, that we have the darkness over here that we want, we've got the brightness, and we do that by just paying attention to shadow. So let's make sure that shadow and light. So let's make sure we've added a little bit more white back in. And if you need to pause the video, if you need to come back, rewind, watch what I'm doing, do that. It's okay to not be able to follow once all the way through and then all of a sudden you can paint this exact same thing. It takes a little bit of time, it takes practice. So now to make it even brighter, more highlight, I'm going over it with white so it looks like even more light is hitting it. So now we're going to go over the seeds again too. So what I do to add value and depth to anything is start darker and then go lighter. So we're going to take the same brush, we're going to wipe it off, and we're going to take this color and we're going to brighten it up. And the way we're going to do that is by adding yellow. So we're going to add some of our yellow light over here. This might be dry, that's okay. Take in a little bit more orange. Take in more yellow. We might add just a little bit of purple just to calm down the color, also known as neutralizing the color. Add a little bit more yellow. We're doing yellow instead of white to just keep it bright and vivid. And now we're going to go right over the seeds, not covering the whole thing, but just adding in this extra dimension. And you'll start to see really quickly, it makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional. I hope you can see we've got the darker color right underneath, and it just makes it look like the light is hitting it because it is. And then to really drive home the point that the light's coming from the right-hand side, now we'll add a little bit of white and we'll actually go over the seeds on the left-hand side. The light's coming from the left, if I didn't just say that. We're going to add another layer of the seeds right over the top so the light is really catching it. And then as we get farther towards the right, we'll make tinier and tinier highlights. So the light is clearly coming from this left-hand side. So we're starting to get some more depth and dimension. Again, we're not going for photorealistic strawberry here, right? We're just going for fun, vivid, bright, and kind of exciting strawberry, not photorealism, but we can still have depth and texture and all that good stuff. So now we're gonna come back a little bit and we are gonna look at the shape of this shadow. So we've got this light pink, we've got into white, but right over here, we've got it fading a little bit more into pink and orange, and we want that over here as well. So we're gonna come back with our favorite brush. And we're going to mix right into this color down here. Little pink, little orange. And we're going to make sure that we've got this round edge coming in between each one. See how it kind of comes down in like that squiggle pattern. Bring in a little bit more pink, maybe a little more orange. And the reason why the pink and the orange work really nicely together is that pink and orange, red and orange really, pink is a variation of red, are next to each other on the color wheel. So we know that anytime we put colors that are next to each other on the color wheel together, they're gonna look great and they're not gonna make mud. So we can confidently keep mixing this color, these three, this magenta, orange, and white, together again and again and again. And if we don't introduce any other colors right now, we're not at risk of making mud. It's gonna be vibrant, it's gonna be really beautiful, vivid, radiant, and we're just not at risk of making mud because these colors are next to each other on the color wheel. So kind of an advanced tip for you, but just coming in with more texture. I wanted to make sure that the edge of the highlight really followed along with the shape of the strawberry, which is definitely a little bit more, there's some roundness between the different seeds. So now what I want to do is I want to go in maybe with a little bit more brighter red and see if we can get the middle a little bit brighter so that the right side has all the highlights, and then we'll come back to the leaves on the top. So our brush is dry. We're going to take some pink and orange. We're trying pretty hard to stay away from the white. We don't want to mix white into this right now, because if we do, it'll start to get a little too pastel. We're going to bring a little bit more orange. Now we've got this brighter orange color. We're going to go right next to the highlight. And what the orange is doing is it's helping to brighten it up. So it's still reading kind of red, but it looks like the light is hitting it, which is exactly what we want. So bringing this right in. Following much the same pattern as we did with the highlight, coming right around each of the seeds, making the edge a little bit wavy. Bringing some of this brightness up towards the top. And now you see why it's so important that we got that red in at the beginning, because now we're going back over with some red orange, but this original red is now super bright over here. It'd be really hard to put it back in. So we'll take this and we will redefine some of the circles around the seeds. And what's cool now, I hope you can see this, is as we go over some of these white areas, we've got where the orange goes right over the white, it actually is a little bit lighter since this is a transparent color. And then you can see that darker red right underneath. So now we're creating more dimension as we keep going. That's why painting is not a linear process. It's always back and forth. It's always considering what's next to what you're doing, what's underneath what you're doing. And that's important. And then we'll bring some of this brighter red over here. What's fun too is bringing in all these different colors. It reminds you that not every color you put down is going to be exactly what you thought you needed. Like when you think of a strawberry, what you probably thought you needed was just a bunch of red, right? But you need to do some reds that lean more towards pink, some reds that lean more towards orange, some reds that are darker, they're leaning more towards purple. We need that variety to get this nice three-dimensional feeling strawberry. So we're gonna bring a little more of this over here, maybe even on the edges around these strawberries here, around these seeds. While being careful not to cover these darker shadows completely. And maybe bringing some of this brighter orange to the edge. But we still have this darker area in there too. So I think this is coming out really great. It definitely has some fun colors, but now it's time to go back towards the top. And we're gonna do something very similar to what we did with the seeds. We wanna go darker and we wanna build it up, up, up until it really starts to pop. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try again to make as many fun, vibrant variations of green as you can. I'm working with phthalo turquoise and phthalo blue. Phthalo turquoise is actually just a combination of phthalo blue and phthalo green. This is the front of the tube. If you flip it over, you can actually see right on the back. It says pigments, tells you exactly what's in your paint. So that's how we know that. But I'm gonna take these two colors here, turquoise and blue, and then I'm gonna take my yellow medium and yellow light. We're gonna create different greens there too. So here's what we're gonna do. We've already got our dark green. So now we're gonna bring in some of our lighter green, and we're gonna go back to a flat brush. We're gonna use the one we were using in the beginning. Looks like this. And we're gonna create a lighter green. So we're gonna take some of this yellow medium. We'll start with the turquoise. Always mix your darker color into your lighter color and a little bit at a time. These are super strong colors. And I want to redefine where this little like strawberry top is. The straw of the strawberry, if you will. So bring in a little bit here. We're gonna do this nice and loose. We're not going for photorealism. You've chosen the wrong account to follow if you want photorealism. So we're gonna bring some of this. It has like the straw and then a little bit of the, like a base around it. And then we're gonna bring this right over here. And you can see starting darker helps to create this base and it creates this depth. You can't have the depth without starting darker. So I'm coming over, making 2 lines on these ones so it looks like there's that split, that leaf vein in the middle. Now I'm gonna add some more yellow. And I want you to experiment with this. Experiment with your different colors. You don't have to make it look exactly like this. Just take these guiding principles and ideas and colors and then make them your own. And adding the yellow as opposed to adding the white is going to keep the green nice and vibrant. We will add white in a minute, but we don't need that yet. White desaturates. It makes it less colorful, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you just need to understand that that's what white is doing. Okay, so now we are gonna add a little bit of white, and we're gonna see it's gonna make a nice light green, but it's actually less saturated. It has less strong color than these ones do. White and yellow are both really light value. They're really light. They're closer to white than black, right? But yellow is more saturated, so you can use it to brighten and lighten at the same time. White is just going to lighten your colors. And if you're like, what? That's okay, just keep going. So now we're gonna we'll do some edges of the leaves here. The edges of the leaves are, it's almost like they're curled up, so they're like catching the light in this interesting way. You'll see I'm using this nice flat brush turned to the side. Experiment with your brushes. See what they will do. See what different marks they can make. I'm not ever going to teach you that you need this one brush for this one thing. All of your brushes can do lots of different things. Then sometimes there's like this ridge on the strawberry here where the leaves start to come out. We can make a little highlight on that to make it look a little more three-dimensional. Again with the edges. And we did that pink outline in the beginning, so we've got this nice little pop of pink up there. Pink and green are complementary colors, and anywhere you want a nice little eye-catching pop, putting a complementary color is always a good idea. All right, so pulling this in, just pulling it down really lightly, we're getting this really fun texture. And it's not, this isn't like a trick to make a strawberry leaf. It's just, you can do this texture on anything. And now that we've got this beautiful green underneath, it's coming off as a highlight rather than just going over on plain white paper. If we were doing this just on plain white paper, it wouldn't have that three-dimensional effect that it does because we have some darkness underneath. So now let's go back and add some yellow. We can add yellow straight to this that we added the white to. And now we'll hit it again and bring in some more green. We know that the light is coming from over here, so maybe we'll add some more yellow directly where the light is coming from. Right over here. And if we really wanted to, we could always bring some of this greenish yellow down here. We could add a touch of it to the seeds just to bring in some extra color. It's really subtle, but it just takes some of the color from the top down to the bottom. It's just a nice touch when you see color from one area of your painting just like popping up in a subtle place in a different area of your painting. I just think it adds a really nice touch. Maybe we want to add some around the edge, just a tiny bit for a little glow. Up to you. But let's make sure that this is defined enough. I think I'll add a little bit more white up here. You can see on the palette, I like to work from dark to lighter, making sure it looks like all the different values are there. Similar to making a color chart, which I have a video on if you want to check it out. Acrylics tend to dry a little bit darker, so it is always important just to have all your values covered from light to dark. And then the last thing I like to do to finish up a painting is make sure that I am happy with my light and darks, my highlights and my shadows. So I think that down here we could use just a little bit more shadowing. So we're going to take a clean brush, same brush we were using before, but it's clean now. And we're going to take some magenta. I'm going to be really careful to steer clear of the white as well as best we can. Bring a little bit of the purple in. If you've got white on your brush, you're just not going to be able to mix a nice dark color. And we'll mix just a tiny touch of orange in just to keep it nice and warm, but still dark. And we just need a little bit of shadowing next to the seeds. Right next to that highlight. Maybe even add just a little bit more orange, a little bit more pink, just a little bit at a time or else you're going to turn it brown. And just get a little bit of darkness in there. Just because it helps really make it look like that shadowing is intentional. So now we're going to add even more orange to just lighten it up a little bit. And we'll add some of this dark right next to the highlight. Don't want to go too crazy. And then we can take some of this darkness right up here. Feels like there's a shadow up there, and you don't have to go too crazy. This is just me showing you at the end what adding in those dark areas looks like. And then, of course, to finish off, I always like to add a pure white highlight, just so I know I've got a lightest value somewhere, and white is, of course, the lightest value there is. So again, completely drying this off, washing it, and just going right into the white. Clean white, and just finding the brightest area. So I think the brightest part of the highlight is right in here. And you can see even after just 30 minutes or so, the acrylics do dry a little darker. And it's just nice to bring them up in value a little bit. Not covering everything we did, but just making sure that there's some nice bright white highlights. Over on this side. Maybe just a little bit on the leaves. Don't go too crazy. And then maybe the last little bit on just a few of the brightest seeds. And that is our strawberry.
So now I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me in a comment one thing you learned about painting with vibrant color from this painting tutorial. And to learn even more about painting with acrylics, I want to invite you to sign up for my online painting workshops. In those workshops, I break down the exact process I use for every single one of my paintings and break it down into step-by-step details so you can follow along as well. And again, you can also find my full list of materials for you to download right below this video. If you like this tutorial, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your color-loving friends. Also, if you want to brush up on the basics, make sure you check out these videos right here for the basics of painting with vibrant color, and I will see you in the next video.